local farm horses were coming in, and you would see all these old sway backs and stuff. And
Well, they were having a horse sale. We'd been talking about getting rid of the mule because, you know, he didn't work all the time. Just when I needed 4 head, I put him in. Of course, I give him the lighter end of the double tree.
that was skinny or fatty?
Fatty, skinny, he was triple that.
Oh,
He wanted to work. When I kept it for a while, I'd leave him in the barn, take the rest out. When I'd come in, he'd be all lathered up. He stood in there pawing and prancing.
poor thing.
I finally gave him to Eddie, and Eddie took him to Frankie, and they used him to cultivate the raspberries.
Well, you could do a little work then, huh?
Yeah, he could walk, but I didn't want to
But
work with that bad leg.
he would put some weight on it, though.
Oh, he walked on it.
Hmm.
And then one day when I was there working around the barn, he come and got that young mule out. I didn't question what he was going to do with it. He hopped on its back and went galloping out the road. That was the last I ever saw.
What was that story about? Was it Buster G that bit you and picked you up?
Mm-hmm. Grabbed me right. Bib overalls on, brand new pair. Grabbed me here by the belly and got a lump of skin in there and pinched it. I had a lump of raised skin there for a long time.
Oh, I remember when I was a kid, you showing me a scarf.
Yeah.
And tell me what it was from.
He picked me up and shook me. I started clobbering him on the head. When you brushed him, he'd keep coming around to bite at you, you know. So we used to tie him up short when we curried and brushed him. So he couldn't. That day, Pop told me to feed him and get him ready, a harness for him. So I give him grain, he's eating that. I thought, well, he won't bother while he's eating grain. I didn't bother to tie him. He got me. Buster G.
And who was the one that you were hitching or something and they kicked the... You had some kind of a scar you showed me. A horse kicked you when you were hitching him or something with your dad? I don't know.
I guess there's a little story, yeah. Alvin Artolan he was a racehorse.
Was that also a stud?
No, he was a gelding and a good horse. He was a trotter. Buster was a pacer. Pop used him in the team and plowed and everything with him. He had him another horse in the wagon and he had a load of manure. He's going up in the corner of that little field down the Rachel that's steep up there. So he had me go with him with Pinto. Pop hollered whoa to give him a rest, and Pinto stopped right away, but Alvin, the team, took a step and Alvin got over that rope. And he'd go berserk if he got something around his feet. So I'm up in front of his shoulder and reaching back. And he reached up with his hind foot from way back there and caught me. And he had race shoes on yet, which were wore down almost razor thin. He cut me across there. He was a good horse, that Alvin.
Your dad raced him too?
No, I don't think he. That time when Buster, he gave Buster, that guy, took him to race in New York. The guy was supposed to send Pop part of his earnings, and he didn't. Anyway, Buster had won, and this guy used part of the money to buy Alvin, so when he got Buster back, he got Alvin also. I used to ride him, and worked him, and in the buggy. It was him and the team, and the blocker pushed us over the bank there when I was working the WPA crew down the Doug Road towards Northumberland.
You were using a racehorse in that job, you say?
Yeah, he plowed with him, everything. You know where the Doug Road is?
I'm not sure. Where is it?
Northumberland Road, not far down, there's this road cuts up along the mountain.
Up towards Bald Top?
Up to Bald.
Up to Bald? What do they mean Doug Road? It was like hand.
I guess it was dug out by hand, I don't know, but anyway, it was narrow, and you know, they tried to find projects to put these work progress, whatever, men to work. They got a check every month, you know, or every week during the Depression.
Was government sponsored work there?
Yeah. It was after we had left Pop and been away for a year, and it was during that time that they come out with this relief for people that had nothing, gone hungry. So Mom signed up for that. And then when we got back together with Pop, she still had it, and then they put Pop to work for it. So he's working on that crew. They pick the shovels, they pick that Shaley bank down. And Bob Deal, that was Danny Deal's dad, had a team. He drove in every day and hauling this up the hill, and then they dump it down the other side, you know. Well, they figured they'd need another team because the one couldn't keep up, so I guess Pop told him, well, he had a team, but he's working there, so he said, I can get my kid to drive him. I was a teenager.
It was in the summer or when you were out of school?
Yeah. They had those dump boards on, you know, you pick one up at a time. First you take the sideboard off and some of it, and then one at a time when they pull over the edge of the bank, and two guys up there waiting to dump the wagon. And Alvin and this other horse, he was a buck.
What kind of a horse is it? A bigger one, or?
He wasn't a big horse. We never had big horses.
But it was more of a workhorse type, or was it another?
No, he was. I don't know. Everybody's farm horses then. They didn't have big horses like these Amish. Anyway, if he quit, you said, whoa, left him stand a while, and if he was ready to go, he'd go. If not, he'd start shoving the other horse, and you'd say, whoa, and then let him stand again till, in other words, you wait till he's ready. So
Bockers are funny horses. The way they
I
act.
gets up there with this load almost pulling over, we're gonna dump it, and these guys waiting, he popped. So I let him stand. We were right on the edge. I thought, well, he should be ready, and I said, get up, and he just started pushing out, but he pushed him right over the edge. The wagon went over the edge and went on the side up against the tree. And I'll never know how I did this. I was standing on the load when it went over, and I ended up standing on the edge of it. It was up against the tree. And there's Alvin down, and this other horse standing on him, and Alvin screamed. The guys there hollered, and everybody come running up. Finally got him untangled.
So how'd you get the wagon back up?
Well, all those guys, it was just tipped over the edge of the road. All those guys, I guess, probably left it out. That was another of my adventures, my pup. Putting me through.
At least you didn't have a boring childhood having a dad like that.
Yeah, he had me out working morning to night when we used to farm. Fry's farm down McCaseville, and one year we farmed Fry's and Child's farm right together there. And he must have had 6 or more horses. He'd have a team doing something, put me in a Heron with a 4-horse team when I was in 3rd or 4th grade.
Whoa.
Still went to Caseville School.
Gee, that's like the Amish, have little kids driving teams like that. So what was he raising back then? Corn or hay or?
Well, regular farms followed a rotation. They have hay, and then the next year they plow that sod down, plant corn, and in the fall they would, how was it? Yeah, in the fall. No, in the spring they would plant oats in that field, and in that fall they would plant wheat and sow grass and clover seed in the wheat so that'd be coming on the following year, and you'd be back in the hay.
Mm-hmm. So did people mainly use all that stuff themselves, or did they sell some of their grain and stuff like most of the farmers do now?
No, I guess some of it was sold, but mostly for the wheat, I suppose, was mostly sold because the farmer usually took so much to a mill and got flour made for himself. I know when I first started there, I was farming on the share for terms. And when we thrashed, why, Sherm was going to sell his half directly to Melvin Ralph through the mill. And I said, well, you might as well take my half too. And so we took it all and divided the pay between me and Sherm. You were just a little guy. I used to take you along down there sometimes when I was working.
I don't remember where it was, but I remember you working in a field on somebody else's land, and you gave me some homemade toys to pretend I was farming. I was sitting on the edge of the field, and I had a little flat stone for a drag. I had a little branch with a couple of twigs sticking down for teeth, like a little harrow. That was my first idea about cultivation. I was watching you out there doing all those jobs in the field, and I was making my own little miniature farm. So that would have been like, I always think it was like out Red Lane or somewhere. Is that where those places were, or was it?
No, that was down right above Caseville there, but
Didn't you farm something at Red Lane at one time?
no, Papa did when I was a kid out proud, but down back above the road I farmed. That was a field that had belonged to Geisinger, and Roy Conway bought that farm and the barn and the house, and he had like a dairy. He bought milk from the farmers and pasteurized it and bottled it and sold it around town, and